Hello, welcome back to my channel. So good to be here with you today. I have to say, the last 2 or 3 days, I've been in 0 point. It is so peaceful, so blissful, quiet. There's no, where I live close to the main highway here. No traffic sounds as there normally is. The birds are singing. Everything is just quiet and in harmony. And it really has a lot to do with the fact that I have been detaching myself more and more from social media, not going on there, scrolling to check to see what the status is or what's happening in the world, just not tuning into it at all, which is how we continue to shift into the higher timelines. Okay. And so that's how we get into 0 point. And then once we're in 0 point, it is a very harmonious, blissful state of being. There is that would be Bella. She has a little bed that sits next to my art desk, my workstation here. As you know, I am making this video. And oftentimes, like she is right now, chooses to be on my desk instead of in her bed and hanging out right in my space with me. So please excuse her walking across my computer like that, but she does enjoy being right here where the energy is the highest. So I can't be mad at her for that. So when we're in these blissful higher states of consciousness, everything is aligned. Everything is just so. Everything starts to fall into place. It's really where the magic happens. And we can see that in our day-to-day experience. It's also the place where we recognize that there is no such thing as fear. Fear is not a real thing. It was a mechanism, a tool that was fed into the collective consciousness in order to keep us playing in the duality and the polarity so that we could have that experience of duality and polarity. And so, you know, I'm asked quite often, how do I let go of the fear? Because the fear is the one thing that keeps me from living my best life, or the fear is the one thing that stops me from being able to ascend myself further. Fear holds back my ability to be all that I need to be, to create my business, to whatever it is. And so I wanted to talk a little bit about that today, because that's something that's very, very powerful, very powerful thing to be able to control. And really what it takes is an awareness. So in every moment we have the awareness in every moment we have the awareness that we are in control of everything, and that fear is one of the things that we're in control of. So it's very important for us to start with that awareness that fear is something that we are accessing, okay, in order to have an experience that we think we need to have. So when we are, let's say, looking at things like let's take the war, right? The Ukraine and Russia, all right? So as we are looking at things like that, we could suddenly have an awareness that we're feeling fear because of what it looks like. And so in that moment of feeling the fear, we could say, okay, it's okay that I have this fear. It's okay that I'm feeling this way. It's okay that I'm in my head. It's okay that I can't pull myself out of this. Let me just have this moment and just feel what is presenting at this moment in time, because I can't control myself. I can't control my thoughts. I can't control my emotions, and the fear is coming up. And as the fear comes up, what happens is it will escalate because it has momentum in that moment. So the fear has momentum, it begins to escalate, and suddenly you find yourself in that escalated state, possibly heading down some kind of a rabbit hole. But there's going to come a moment when you're having that experience where you kick in with your thoughts and your state of knowing, and your higher self is present. And you have a second, many seconds within those thoughts of fear where you say, I really don't know why I feel this way. I'm feeling something that is making me uncomfortable, but I don't understand why I'm feeling this way, because maybe you're not present in Russia or the Ukraine, or you're not present in a situation which is going to bring in any kind of fear like that. Maybe you tuned into fear because you read something on social media, or you heard something on the news, and that triggered that fear within you. That triggering of that fear within you is actually timelines that are needing to clear your field. So the information comes in, then it hits a point within us where we've stored that data, that information, maybe some old timelines where you have either been abused by somebody or you've been the abuser to somebody. And we're talking all facets, whether it's this reality or other realities where you have experienced this. And again, remember, past lives are all present lives, because it's all parallel realities, and this is why we feel it so strongly in this reality now. So we're having this awareness, right? And as our thoughts are running around kind of crazy in our head, we're having these moments where we have this awareness that we're having these feelings and we don't quite know why we're having these feelings. It's in those moments where we can interject for just a second each time, where we say, oh, I'm probably clearing a timeline. And then we go back into holding the fear, feeling the fear, and then let ourselves maybe have a cry or get emotional. And then maybe another opening comes up, and that opening says, right now, I know this fear is not even mine. It's not activating because of something that I'm going through. But there's something here that's driving that force forward. And in those moments, what's happening is you're letting in those cracks that are showing up, where you're having these little stretches of emotion. You have the emotion, and then there's a break. So it forms a crack. And then there's another band of emotion that comes in and forms a crack, right? And so in those moments where those higher self thoughts can get into the cracks, that's where we can wedge ourselves into that crack and really come into a reality check that sounds something like, I bet this is a timeline that I'm clearing. I bet that it's tied to whatever I just heard, or whatever I just experienced, or whatever I just thought about. And it feels real, but I know it's not. Right? This is the conversation I have with myself, or I used to have with myself all the time when I was going through those feelings of fear, right? Especially, I remember very strongly with my divorce back in 2013, having fear that I was working in my own business. I wasn't working a corporate 3D earthbound job at the time. I was doing this for a living, and I wasn't quite as successful as I am now. Okay. And I couldn't perceive how I could become successful in my business and stand on my own 2 feet. And there were all kinds of fears and all kinds of concerns and worries that I would have to go back to working a job, or I would not be able to afford to live on my own outside that relationship. Whatever, there were just tons and tons of fears coming up for me. And so with each one, though, I let myself experience it, telling myself that what I was feeling wasn't really my truth. Now, in the beginning, yeah, it was hard for me to get there to where I could understand that it wasn't my truth, that the fear that I was feeling really wasn't real. It took me a while to get there. Okay. Like it might take you a while to get there, but the more we're willing to sit in the pain and the suffering and feel it, because everything has to do with feeling now, because of course we're in physical ascension, which is root chakra related. So we have to feel it. Okay. And the root chakra, I just had this conversation earlier, ties into the heart center. And if you think about the heart center, the root chakra is about survival mode, right? Fight or flight. Now, what's happening on the earth now, look at the gas prices going up. That's survival, right? If we can't afford to fill our gas tank, we're not going to be able to get to work. We're not going to be able to see our loved ones. We're not going to be able to go grocery shopping. So there's fear coming through that. The war, right? That is triggering all kinds of memories. And for those who didn't actually experience war, it may be triggering memories for you, like it has for me, except they don't impact me. It's just an opportunity for me to clear a timeline now, but it might be impacting you in a way that you're feeling emotional about it because you remember listening to stories from your grandparents about what they went through when they were in the war, or how they might have suffered when their villages or their towns, especially in Europe, like my family, both Hungarian and German, experienced that. And so I heard the stories growing up. I heard them from my father, who was from Hungary, and I heard it from my grandparents, who were from Germany. So we may be hearing that, and it could be a trigger. And then we go into the fight or flight, and we're in fear. And then we're thinking, oh my God, what if it happens here? And then we hear other information in our maybe news or our government that creates even more fear. And so the fear just continues to become dramatized. And so we're feeling it at the deepest level. But we have to feel it, because if we stop ourselves from feeling it, we can't clear it, we can't heal it. And on a bigger scale, we're not assisting and supporting the collective consciousness in their effort to clear and heal fear. And so that's where we are right now. So the other part of this, though, is, those of you that have been following me know that in 2017, in October of 2017, when I cleared the cyst that was in my body by myself, not through surgery or any other means, you heard me say, and you could go back and read all of my sharings on this, that we had triggered abuse of power on the earth, which is what brought us into physical ascension. And there were certain triggers that showed up at that time. And so as Gaia went into physical ascension, things on the earth became very physicalized. And we started to see the uprooting of the sex scandals in Hollywood and all over the place, and hearing about the atrocities. And Hugh Hefner died, and Charlie Manson died, and it was all these different, distortions of sex, right? And that's all tied to root chakra. That's tied to patriarchal abuse of power. So experiencing that and experiencing everything that we're experiencing now ties into that timeline of patriarchal abuse of power. And the most important thing for us to remember is that every time we are triggered in that abuse of power timeline, we have to clear it from our field. Okay. So whatever is coming up, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter if it's in the Ukraine or Russia, if it's in another country, if it's something happening in your immediate family, if it's happening in your relationships, if it's happening in your work environment, if it's happening with your friendships, it doesn't matter. We have to look at it and say, what is this offering me in this moment now? What is this offering me as far as my ability to take this in and use it to clear something that I'm still holding on to? For many of us, it's generational imprints. As I mentioned before, our grandparents who lived through the Holocaust, who lived through wars, like my father, my grandfather, my grandparents rather, Many who lived through that, right? How about all of the military people here in the United States that have been in Iraq and Afghanistan and all of that, right? So we have all of this, their children coming in with these generational imprints for abuse of power, right? As they had to serve to help assist so that we wouldn't feel war here, but we're going to feel it anyway. We're going to feel it through what we're hearing, what we're receiving. So we have to look at this and we have to say, okay, I've got to take myself out of choosing sides, because choosing sides, again, is separation. It's divisiveness. It's not going to help us. Okay. We can't go, I'm going to side with this person. I'm going to side with that person. We can't do that. We have to maintain ourselves in divine neutrality, because being in divine neutrality gives us the clearer picture. We access the higher timelines, and that's where we can create in the 0 point field. And it becomes very harmonious, very synchronistic, and then nothing can pull us out of alignment. The other part of this is that soul contracts are at play everywhere we look, everywhere. Everybody that shows up for us is playing out a soul contract for us, not against us, not trying to do anything to hurt us, but giving us an opportunity through the soul contract that is presenting. Now, every single person in the Ukraine and Russia are playing out soul contracts. Every single person here in the United States, every single person playing out soul contracts. Okay. So we have to remember that things are happening on another level also, because we all have to complete what it is that we're here for. Okay. Some of us have greater work within our soul contracts, and some of us are just supporting in our soul contracts. Some of us are going to be switching off, main character actors, and then others are going to be supporting actors and actresses. Okay. So, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because we're all here to hold the highest timeline. All right. So we have to pay attention. Everything that we're giving our attention to on the outside of where we are right here, right now, is serving as a distraction. If you are tuning into the lower dense timelines where there is conflict and there is diversity, divisiveness, then you're in the inorganic timeline. And that's not where you want to create from. So it requires us tuning to a higher timeline where we pull ourselves out of that narrative and just let what's meant to happen happen, so that the last little bits of the lower distorted field of 3D can self-implode and end what's taking place, so we can finally rid ourselves of abuse of power timelines, never to go back there again. It has to blow up in order to deconstruct and self-implode. It has to happen that way. So when we feed fear into the collective, we're just continuing to feed and support that lower level timeline. We have to make sure that we're holding the higher timeline. So by doing the self-talk and reassuring ourselves that the fear that we're feeling is not real, the only thing that's real is love, we can start to shift our thoughts and our words and our actions, which is very important, because those three things run our emotional body. And then in shifting our emotional body, we can have a different experience that is more highly aligned. Something that is going to take us from operating up here. Oh, did you see that? My light body just kicked in and the light expanded, and bring it down into the heart center. Okay. So bringing it down into the heart center is the place that we want to be. If we're constantly up here, we're not working smart. We're working from our third dimensional ego. We want to come into the heart center. Now, that's not to say that the ego doesn't play an important part, or that it's not an important aspect for us, right? We don't need to get rid of the ego completely, because it serves a purpose. but we want to be clear about where we're operating from. Okay. So if you've been tuning into what's taking place, try to look at it from the perspective that this has to happen. It doesn't have a choice. In all the times that we've had wars, and not here so much in the United States, but in other countries, the whole world was not watching all at one time. The whole world was not able to unify and come together as we are now, where we are unifying and coming together in the highest ways that people know how to do, right? Whether they're setting up those online unity meditations, or they're trying to set up a charity for collecting money, or whatever the case may be. Okay, it's fostering the higher levels of unity consciousness. It is certainly doing that, but we don't need to sit in and dwell in it, because if it's not showing up in your immediate reality, then you did not sign up for a part in that part of the movie. And those that did are playing it out through their soul contracts. So we have to be very, very clear about where we stand, what our part is. You might have heard me say sometime last year in a video, I talked about not feeling aligned with, protesting, or, going on any kind of march or anything like that. It did not feel aligned for me. It did not feel like something I needed to do. What felt aligned was coming on here and bringing through as much information as I possibly could to help keep everybody pointed in the highest direction possible, because that's what my job is. I'm a life path 22. I'm meant to be a teacher. I could give you other things on my background as to who I am and what I'm here for, but that again serves as the game of separation, right? And divisiveness, which is why you don't really hear me talk about it. But I'm here to do a job, and I know what my job is, and everything in my personalized state of being points to that job. It points to me being this person showing up for you. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to bring myself here. So another means to assist and support clearing the fear is to getting really clear on what your intention is for what you're wanting to achieve or accomplish in this reality, in this incarnation. I hear, and I did a video on it. What is my purpose? I made a video on that. Because we don't really have a purpose, and we're not really here on a mission. I know everybody thinks that that's true, but it's really not true. That we're here to live our best life and to use Earth as our playground, to experience as much as we possibly can, in order to grow our soul, so that our soul can expand its consciousness. Because when we expand our consciousness, our generational imprints into the future aspects of us, future selves, and certainly our lineages, as far as like the galactic lineages and other beings that funnel up into our oversoul and our soul families, all of that ascends with us. Every being is ascending with us. The cats are ascending, the birds are ascending, every animal is ascending, everybody is ascending. We're all playing a major part in this. Okay, so when we do our work and we see the truth about fear, that it's a program that runs, that it gets triggered by lower level distortion, the key in that understanding is then to detach from the lower level distortion, or really, really show up for yourself and be super, super present in order to heal that lower level distortion. Okay, so I think we're going to end here. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you found this beneficial, as always, please give it a thumbs up. It just helps me in the algorithms, and then people can find me. If you're new here and you just found this channel and my work resonates with you, please consider subscribing to my channel, hit the bell notification so that you can be notified when I have a new video coming out. I would like to acknowledge those of you that did send contributions to support me. Thank you so much. That means the world to me. I really appreciate it. I love every single one of you. I am so grateful to all of you and appreciate all of you so very much, whether you're a new subscriber or you're somebody that's been with me forever and ever and ever. You're all in my heart. Just know that I love you so, so very much. I wish you a wonderful whatever it is that you're doing. If this is a topic that interests you, please let me know, drop it in the comments below, and I could do more on talks like this. If there's something in particular you want to hear about, please drop that down below too. I'd be happy to do something as if that is in alignment with the work that I do. I look forward to seeing you again back here real soon. Love you. Bye-bye.